Right, so if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know back, and it must have been January time, because it's when we had snow at home, and because I put it up as I was walking my dog. I was like, does anyone have any questions about Stirling? I'm going to do another Q&A, because I do Q&As all the time. Do I remember the things I have talked about in past videos? No. Am I in the mood to go back and look at them? No. So if you're on a binge watch of any of my Q&A videos and you come across this one and I might have repeated things I've said in previous videos, please just excuse me. I honestly have got to a point where I have no brain cells left. And that's why I'm in 4th year, and that's why I'm still here. A little bit more about COVID related questions, because I asked these at the end of semester 1, so a lot of people had questions kind of regarding COVID and stuff. So one of the first one is one of my absolute favourite ones that I read straight away, and it was there ever any times when you've thought about dropping out? I think it's I don't want to speak for everyone, but I think it is a general kind of thing that everyone goes through. You will have probably more than one time occasion when you're like, yeah, I'm going to drop out uni, I can't do this anymore. I definitely did have one back in 2nd year when I was like, I'm quitting uni, I cannot do this, I want to go home. There was one day, like, some of my friends can tell you this, definitely Emer and Tom, I just drove home. I was like, bye. They were like, do you want to come over for dinner? And I was like, no, I'm gone. I can't even explain that one. I just drove home. It was in April. I took half my photos off my wall and packed them away and just drove home. I came back a few days later and I was completely fine, but that was a weird one. So there has been times I've thought about dropping out. This year has been I've not thought about dropping. I wouldn't actually drop out now that I'm in 4th year, because I might as well just suffer through it and get my final year done and get my degree. But honestly, this year online learning really takes it out of you. Online learning really makes you want to drop out, I'll tell you that. And if you're in 1st year, I would have dropped out, to be honest. So if you're still here, then I'm so proud of you. How's the uni handling online teaching? I made a video for the uni talking about online teaching and saying about how I quite enjoyed it, etc. My views have changed since then. I do not really enjoy it as much. I think it is, obviously it's a necessary thing at the moment. It's not that the uni can have in-person teaching. Do I think they should have said that they were going to have it when they knew they probably wouldn't? No, they shouldn't have, because they definitely said in more than one email that online learning would go away and in-person teaching would return a couple of times, and it was a promise they shouldn't have made, because no one knew what the COVID situation was going to be like, so they shouldn't have been making that promise, in my opinion. But that's all I'm going to say on it. I'm not going to get into it. I think, other than that, I think it depends who your lecturers are, because it's mostly our lecturers that have been in charge of the online learning aspect. Some of my lecturers have been really, really, really good at the online stuff. They've made it so easy, so accessible. Everything's laid out neatly. One of my lecturers at the moment is incredible. She even puts the amount of time she thinks it'll take you to do each segment of the seminar questions, each video you have to watch, each little bit. And then there's other ones where I have literally received a Word document that has 3 questions on it and about 700 sources, and it just says read it, and there's no lecture at all. And obviously in 4th year you're expecting seminar based teaching, but you're expecting teaching. So I have had one or two since coming to online learning where they just don't bother to actually kind of teach, as terrible as that sounds. They just make us answer the seminar questions and that's that. Whereas there's ones who are genuinely really want to know what we think. The uni's handling it in different manners depending on who your tutors are, is what I'll say to that one. Very vague answer, I sound like a politician. How did you remain sane and motivated? Now that you ask, am I sane? That is what we need to address. Probably not. If anyone knows me, you'll know that I really have like these moments where you genuinely would be concerned that I've lost the plot. I've been living alone. It's not funny, I don't know why I'm laughing. I've been living alone at uni for a total of 32 days today, actually. There was a little break in the middle, but they're not counted in the days that I've been in the flat by myself, so it's probably about 35 days I've been here now. But 31 of those have been spent alone, and I am growing to start. I'm 32, I don't really know. I have started to enjoy my own company. However, I'm a very social person and a big extrovert, so not seeing a lot of people has been pretty hard for me. Staying sane and motivated has been a struggle. Especially with the atrium shut. I hate the library, but I love the atrium study spots. They shut that a few weeks ago. I'm not really sure why. I think it's a bit unfair of the uni to have shut it, because it's a bit like the library shuts at a certain time whereas the atrium was always open and people were wearing their masks. So I don't know, but it's hard to stay motivated at the moment for sure. I think it's easier when you, one thing that I have found myself doing is there's a lot of people on TikTok, this sounds really, if you don't like TikTok you'll be like, this is so weird, but there's people on TikTok who do live streams and it's just themselves sitting in silence studying for an hour straight. I sometimes put their live stream on and study while they study because it feels like you're studying together, and it also gives you a reason not to go on your phone. Same with doing time lapses, it's another way to like keep your phone out of the way, because that's my phone is my biggest demotivator. Like, it is so hard for me to do uni work if my phone's pinging, or if it's even sitting next to me sometimes, if it's not doing something. I have like a dependency on my phone, I'd say. I have gotten better since last year. The boys I lived with last year would tell you it's pretty bad, but I was always on my phone. So I'm kind of glad that I've got a bit better. Is Stirling Uni usually more precise about when and where your classes are? So your timetable is usually obviously a lot more specific when you use the timetable generator in first, second and sometimes third year, sometimes fourth year as well. It'll tell you the exact classroom that your lectures will be in. It doesn't tell you your seminars because that's something you pick yourself. I will say, navigating the uni in your first few weeks as a fresher, and sometimes first year, is horrific, or it was for me anyway. See, trying to find places, I had no idea what was going on. Cotterell is a very confusing building, even with maps, because every single corridor looks the same. So I used to just get lost in Cotterell and always be late to my lectures. Pathfoot's a little bit easier, but also it's kind of confusing at some points. It's easier to explain if you've been to the uni, but basically like it would say like your class and then it says like P dot and that's like Pathfoot, or if it says C dot that's Cotterell, and then it has like a corridor and then a room number. It's easier and more precise, definitely in person. It's easier to get in a swing of things as well. Things don't change as often as well in person, but obviously because of COVID it is just a little bit more confusing at the moment. But yeah, was your offer conditional or unconditional? I got an unconditional offer. Stirling was not my first choice. I've said this in a couple other videos before. I got an unconditional offer and my first choice was Glasgow, and Glasgow rejected me. And I sat in, this is not funny, I sat in a percussion ensemble meeting trying not to cry because Glasgow rejected me, and I was like, I'm going to go to rubbish Stirling and I'll jump in the lock, and it was a bit dramatic. But you know, I've grown to like it here, and I think I'm always really glad that I came to Stirling over Glasgow. I feel like Stirling for me, you get it's definitely a different experience than you would in Glasgow for sure. So my offer was unconditional. I did no English based subjects other than English, so it's a surprise how it even got accepted to a law degree when I did all sciences, but we'll move on from that. How quickly did you hear back from Stirling after applying? I applied in the October and I believe I heard back in the December maybe? I think it was the December I heard back, and then I confirmed my place in February. So it was pretty quickly, but also I know people who I went to uni with that didn't hear back until April, so it's very hit and miss. It really just depends, I guess, on other things. How would you compare Stirling to other local unis like Glasgow, Dundee? I am not very good at answering this question because I personally don't think I should compare them, because I've never been to them. I don't really know much about them. I don't feel comfortable to compare them. I only know what my friends know, but they do different subjects than me anyway, so it's a bit different. Stirling I definitely would say is a lot smaller than Glasgow, for example. It doesn't have as many students. It's a campus based, it's not split up around town. Same for Strathclyde, it's obviously in town, different bits of inner city Glasgow. Stirling is, everything is on the same campus and it's 2 buildings and that's it. Stirling is not big compared to other unis, and all the student accommodation minus the ones, minus 2, I think 3 of them are on campus as well. So it's a campus based uni, so everything's a lot more easier to navigate, I'd say. My friend is interested in the LLB course. Do you have any tips and advice about it? I don't really know if I've got any tips or advice. I definitely say if you're going to apply for it, be aware there's a lot of reading. I knew there was a lot of reading and I knew I hated reading and I applied anyway and I'm doing it, but there's a lot of reading. Like, my camera says it's gonna die and I just charged it. Oh my gosh, we are back. I started filming that video days ago and then my camera died, and then I just had stuff going on, so I haven't been able to finish it. I don't even know where I was at. I think I was saying stuff about reading for the LLB. Yeah, so don't do the LLB unless you're ready for a lot of reading is what I'll say. Anyway, because my camera did die, I then put out a call for other questions just while waiting for my camera charging up, and then I had work, and then people came over, so I never really got the people came over. Tammy came over to move her stuff out, not breaking COVID rules, don't worry. She's moving out the flat, so she had to come get her stuff. What am I trying to find? What was I just, oh yes, rate the nightlife and social life if COVID wasn't a thing. Well, where do we begin? I talk about this a lot, it's hard to explain. I love Stirling nightlife, I think it's a right laugh. Stirling nightlife can get repetitive because there's only 2 nightclubs in Stirling, and I don't know if one of them was even, I don't know if they're going to reopen when COVID restrictions lift, because they don't have any staff, because they had to let all their staff go, as far as I'm aware anyway, because one of my flatmates used to work for Foo Bar, which is one of the 2 nightclubs in Stirling. But there's tons of bars and stuff, like pubs, and oh my god, I think it's quite a fun thing. It's because kind of everyone knows everyone in Stirling Uni, because it is a campus uni and it is quite small. Not everyone knows everyone, but a lot of people know a lot of people. It's always a good night out, I'd say, a good laugh as such. And then you can always pop over to Glasgow if you're really wanting to spice things up for a night out, but Stirling does the job, to be fair. It's not the best nightlife in the world, but it's certainly not the worst. Which accommodation would you say is better out of Beach, Juniper, Willow, or if there's any difference? Now, I've only stepped foot in Willow once, and I've never stepped foot in Beach minus the reception when I used to deliver pizzas. So I delivered a pizza to the Beach reception once. I've been in Willow once or twice. They're all kind of different in their own way. I thought they were all going to look exactly identical, but I don't know if it's to do with the names or if it's just sort of theming. They have different colour wood in the room. So Juniper, for example, every single bit of wood in the room is the exact same shade. Willow, I'm pretty sure, has like wood with some white trim on it, and I don't know about Beach. Personally, I think Juniper in my opinion is my favourite. That's just because it's the one I stayed in, that's what I'm used to, etc. You get better views at the Juniper windows because there's no building blocking your way to like across campus pretty much. Willow, I'd say you don't really get any nice views out your window unless you're facing the forest, but even then you don't really get as many nice views as you would in Juniper or Beach perhaps. I prefer Juniper. I don't really have a reason for that. Willow has the laundry, which is the one thing I will say. If you're in Beach and Juniper, you will need to go to Willow if you want to use the laundry facilities. But Willow also has the whole accommodation team located in it, which if you're fine with that, you're fine with that. But I feel like in Juniper we kind of preferred, we felt like we had more independence not having the restaurant or the laundry or the whole accommodation team in Juniper. We just had the one security guard, which switch and changes. You kind of get to know your security guards and stuff. That's the one thing about the 3 newer accommodations and some of the other ones, is that some of the accommodations don't have a security guard, not a security guard, but like a porter as such all the time, whereas Juniper, Beach and Willow tend to be staffed all the time. I don't know if that's the same with COVID restrictions, but in first year for us we always had someone at the desk, whether or not they'd taken a wee break to go wander around the building, but there always was someone there. How far is the accommodation from lecture halls to walk? Okay, so if you're in some of the main ones on campus, so if you're in the mini huddle that's like Juniper, Muirhead, Ash, all those kind of ones, and you're in that main little village block, it's probably only 10 minutes max depending on where you're going. If you're going to Pathfoot, it's a lot quicker, I'd say. Cottrell, you have to go over the bridge, but even then it's not far. There used to be a link bridge between the atrium and Cottrell, which made it a lot quicker, but now you have to kind of go out the bottom of the atrium and back up into Cottrell, so it takes a little longer, but about 10 minutes max, I'd say. Not even that. It's really not even that. However, that being said, if you're staying in Alexander Court, any of the off-campus accommodation, your walk is going to be longer. Alexander Court is up back past the golf course, so it takes maybe an extra 10 minutes or so, maybe 15. I haven't done the walk that often. It's probably not 10-15 minutes, about 10 maybe. I'm not sure from Alley Court to things, so about 20 minutes, just maybe slightly over 20 minutes I'd say. Depends how quick a walker you are, but Alley Court is a lot further out than the other on-site accommodation, that is one thing to say. Is it possible to balance study, a job and being on a competitive sports team? I'd say so, yes. I think it also depends on your work ethic. So I have worked the entire 4 years that I've been at uni. The first 2 I was working in Domino's Pizza, just because I'd worked at Domino's Pizza when I was in high school, and then the past 2 I've worked at Pizza Hut. That sounds like a big traitorous betrayal, I know, but it's a long story there anyway. I found it relatively easy to balance a job and study in first, second and third year. Definitely, for sure. And then in second year I was on a sports team, but it wasn't really competitive then, but I still managed that reasonably fine. Third year I found it a lot trickier to balance sports, job and study. Fourth year, I fully believe that had we not been online, I would have been able to keep balancing my job, study and sports team. But our sports team hasn't been able to play, lacrosse hasn't been able to play in a while, and I actually quit my job. My last shift was this week. I resigned 2 weeks ago. I had to do my 2-week notice because I find it incredibly hard to balance my dissertation with a part-time job at the moment. I'm in a very fortunate position where I've got savings that I've saved up over the past 4 years that will run me over for the next 2 months, next 2-3 months before I move out. So, but I will say it will depend on your work ethic, it will depend on what you're used to. I worked all my way through high school, so I already kind of was able to balance things quite well, but I certainly found it a lot harder this year because of online uni. Just because I feel like that it sounds silly because you're not spending as much time travelling in and out of campus, but mentally I found it hard to balance this year, so that's why I'm taking a step back from my job. But obviously you can do it, people I know are doing it. I managed to do it for the past 4 years. What's the Law Society like, and did you become friends with people in your course? So I was only actually in the Law Society for first year, but I never went to any of the events. I went to one event and then I didn't go back just because I'd already made friends at that point. So I was kind of like, I don't really feel the need to join the Law Society. Do I kind of regret not joining it later on? A little bit, but I don't really have an interest. Anyway, I don't really have an interest in law. It's not what I want to do after uni, so I didn't really feel the need to join the Law Society. But you don't need to have a big interest in law to join it, to be fair. I know people whose courses aren't law that are on the Law Society. But I will say everyone there's really, really nice. I know a lot of the people, whether indirectly or not directly, from my course, they're all quite nice, I'd say. Making friends in my course was quite easy for me. Literally the first lecture before we went, I messaged two of the girls who lived in the flat next to mine and was like, hey, I know we're on the same course, do you want to head to the lecture together? And because we were all in first year, we were like, yeah, let's go. So the 3 of us went together. Obviously COVID pending at the moment, it's a lot harder to make friends in your course because it's not in person, but I certainly found it was alright, and hopefully by September time people will be back to being able to go to actual in-person teaching. What are the career opportunities like from Stirling Law School? We get a lot of emails through about different training contracts, about different vacation schemes, grad schemes. I personally don't pay much attention to them because it's not something I want to do after school, but there is a lot of support there. Are you allowed to have people stay over in accommodation, and how many? Now, I don't know what the exact rules in this are. I'm gonna admit to you, I think if you were having people staying over pre-COVID, you were only allowed them over for like 1 night sort of thing, and they had to sign in. Although I will say, and if Stirling Uni's watching this, I apologise, no one I knew actually signed anyone in. Obviously that's a huge health and safety risk, but you know, we were first years, we just didn't do it. But at the moment you're not allowed people in your accommodation at all unless they're in your flat due to COVID restrictions. But you can have people round during the day pre-COVID. You could have people round during the day for as long as you wanted, like your parents could come round or like your siblings, etc. You can have people stay overnight, but I think they kind of frown upon it. But you could have people around during the day and stuff, etc. I don't know what the rules currently are, I just know you're not allowed people in your flat at the moment. How is campus life? Campus life is nice. I think it's like a little bubble. You're kind of out of the world. I think my flat, for example, we used to do Tesco home delivery instead of going into town to get shopping just sometimes. So you kind of end up in like a little bubble on campus. You can make trips into town and stuff. At the moment, campus life must be significantly different from when it was when I was in first year, just because COVID restrictions and stuff like that. We also had the access to like the cinema, a couple of other things on campus. There is a wee cinema on campus, that's one thing I will say. The McRoberts Centre is really cute. We went and saw Love, Simon there, which was a huge, huge turning moment in my life. But we won't go into that. I'm pretty sure I've spoken about that in another story, but yeah. What's your favourite thing about the uni? See, this is the one thing I will say, is I feel like in a lot of my videos I make it sound like Stirling Uni is the best place on earth, and I'm not saying it's not, but I'm also not saying it is. I kind of learned that all unis have their issues. Stirling Uni certainly does have issues here and there, I'm not going to deny that, it does. So I'm not saying Stirling Uni is perfect, but one of my favourite things about it, and there is quite a few to be fair, is definitely the fact it is very campus heavy. I love campus, I really like the walks on campus. There's a couple of trails on campus, they're not big trails or anything, but it's nice. I think there's a sense of community in Stirling that you don't necessarily get with other unis, especially if you live in halls in first year. That's one of my favourite things about the unis, is that it's very connected. Why didn't you go to Glasgow? I was rejected. Have you ever been swimming in the lake? Have you know it's actually a loch? No, I have not. There's a rumour that there's a mini, like a car, like a mini at the bottom of the lake, the loch. Do I believe it? I don't know. It was said in our cross chat a while back. No, I've never been swimming in it. I know people who have accidentally fallen into it, or have purposely fallen into it and got drenched. But I personally have never been in it. There was also a rumour for a while that had flesh-eating algae in the loch, but I don't think that one was true. And finally, tips on surviving 4th year. I would love to know. No, I'm just joking. I think really being vocal with your dissertation supervisor or your tutors is a really good tip for 4th year. I never really engaged that much with my tutors until this year, and oh my god, it's so helpful. I don't know why I didn't do it sooner. I've got a great dissertation supervisor. My dissertation supervisor is like the best wee guy ever. Honestly, he's so helpful. Why is my face gone proper white like Voldemort right now? If you're wondering why I'm wearing a hat, it's just because I put it on this morning and I haven't taken it off since. Oh my god, I think this is coming to the end of this video because I think I'm going a bit insane. I feel like I've answered a lot of questions in this video, but powered through them. I'm trying to see if there's anything. Oh, here we go, there's one more. What was life in uni like before COVID? Oh my god, life in uni was so much different before COVID. It's hard to explain to people who haven't experienced uni before COVID. It was a lot more social for sure, a lot more social for sure. Was it a little bit more panicked? A little bit more chaotic, I'd say, for my course. We had exams that were like not open book exams, so we had to go into an exam hall. We were allowed to take one statute. Do I have a statute book? No, not on me. We were allowed to take like one statute book into an exam, and you weren't allowed any notes other than that. Some exams you weren't even allowed the statute book, so it was very hit and miss. Exams were harder in a sense. But I personally feel that now that exams are open book online and you get 24 hours to complete them instead of 3 hours, you are able to do your full potential better. A lot of people say, oh, does it not mean people can cheat? A lot of this stuff that you have to have had some basic knowledge in your brain to be able to write answers for it. You wouldn't be able to research some of the questions in 24 hours. So I personally think before COVID, uni was a little bit harder. Me and all my friends said that about third year. Third year, all of our exams were cancelled or they were done over 24 hours online, open book. So it became a lot easier in third year for sure with COVID. But in terms of actual uni stuff, it's so much harder not having in-person lectures and seminars. Things are a lot different. Breakout rooms are uncomfortable. Seminars weren't like that, I don't think. Seminars, you were in a room, like a classroom for example, and you'd all just sit and chat away whenever you got given questions to do, whereas breakout rooms, there's an awkward silence. You can't make eye contact. You don't know if anyone's actually done the work. Whereas in an actual seminar room, you could kind of be like, oh, have you done the work? And folk be like, nah, I've not done it. And you'd be like, oh, right, okay, fair enough, well, I won't ask you like what you've wrote then, sort of thing. Whereas in a breakout room, it's a bit more awkward to do that. You feel a little more pressured, I'd say, on breakout rooms and seminars at the moment than you would in class. I think it's hard to, a lot of people, like I said, obviously don't have cameras on. And I think, I don't personally have my camera on. I think it's uncomfortable because no one has their cameras on, if that makes sense. And then obviously I'm not going to be the first one to put my camera on. We used to go out a lot more as well. I think financially I'm a little bit easier at the moment because I'm not spending as much money as I would have been on like nights out, going out for food, going out for here. So I've saved money in a sense, I guess. Obviously people had not expected that this would last this long. I think a lot of us, we were actually talking about it today, me and Cammy and Alan were saying that when we, just before lockdown was announced, for example, uni got cancelled because of COVID. And I remember no one was taking COVID seriously, and you can't blame a lot of people for that at the start of the pandemic because the government wasn't taking it seriously. So people obviously just followed the government. The government were like, don't panic. Boris was like, I've shook hands with everyone, and everyone was like, alright, okay, not too bad. I remember I put up a story on Insta like, uni just got cancelled, should I go out tonight? And I don't think I went out in the end. I might have, I can't really remember, but we were talking about that and saying it's insane to think that we all thought COVID would be over by 3 weeks. Like, we all thought it was just going to be like the flu. And then obviously it just wasn't. Like, it's hard to explain to people what uni life was like before COVID at this point, because we've been going for COVID for almost a year now. We didn't get a finish, we didn't get a proper end of third year, and we will not be getting a proper end of fourth year, end of our degree. So it is very disappointing, but it's one of those things at the moment, is that it's not like the uni can change COVID circumstances. Yeah, so that's kind of it. That's all the questions I had. What I was trying to say there before I got myself cut off, I have no space on my camera, so I've just had to delete old video clips. I need to sit and do that today. But yeah, so that's kind of my small Q&A on Stirling Uni. Maybe I'll do one after I leave, but this will maybe be the last one I do. Last big one I do. I'll do one probably just as I graduate, like of every single thing. I'll sit and write like a huge list of things that I've covered maybe in other videos but I haven't, and we'll see. So that's the Stirling Uni vibes. The vibes, bro. What am I on about? I've had a lot of sugar. I made some cookies yesterday, but they had like 64 grams of sugar in the entire bunch, and they were meant to make 26, which wouldn't have been that much sugar per cookie, but they only made like 10. So it's like 6 grams of sugar in each cookie, which doesn't sound like much to some people, but for me that's a lot, because I try and stay away from sugar because it gets me hyperactive, as you can tell. Yeah, so that's the current vibes. So this video should be up soon enough. It just depends when I can be bothered to edit it. I might put up, I've got a Clubs and Societies video. I might put that up before this one, I might put that up after this one, but stay tuned anyway. So yeah, if you've got any questions, feel free to message me. I do try to say quite a lot. I can answer questions on placements or on actual courses, simply because I don't know anything, and I don't really like to pass details of other people on to you, simply because I don't know if they'd be happy to talk about their course, and I don't really know what courses everyone does, to be fair. No one really knows exactly what we all study, so I will just put that there as a little disclaimer. Yeah, so feel free to message me on Insta. If you also have any questions, another good place to reach me is TikTok. I am on TikTok probably more than I'm on anything else at the moment. I also don't really read my YouTube comments that often anymore. I try not to read comments on anything that often anymore, so if you need me, the best places are to either Instagram DM me or leave something in my Q&A box on TikTok and I'll answer it. But YouTube comments I don't typically tend to read. Sometimes I'll see them, I don't get notifications for them, and I'm not on YouTube that much anymore, so I might not see them. So if I don't reply to your YouTube comment, please don't feel offended. I honestly will have just missed them. And on that note, have a good day everyone, and I will talk to you at some point soon. I'm trying to do some more of these uni videos before I graduate, just throw out all my knowledge into the world. But this has been Confessions of a Fourth Year Q&A edition, and I will see you some point soon.